It could take days to determine what started a massive fire in the Blue Mountains, and it's still burning tonight, 3 days after it ignited. Exhausted firefighters are still on the ground battling massive flames and strong winds. So far, they've successfully defended residential areas, but it's been a difficult job.
Last night, homes just south of Wentworth Falls came under threat from a firestorm fanned by gusty southwesterly winds. It roared up valleys south of the highway around sunset when the water bombers had to quit for the night. Firefighters going from containment duties to an emergency. No homes were lost, but it was close.
What's that other hose line doing?
They had been struggling to control outbreaks all weekend, but yesterday it seemed under control.
As long as the wind doesn't change direction, and then, it gets pretty serious.
It did get serious. As night fell, homes in Tableland and Coronation Roads came under direct threat. Just one word for it.
Scary. Scary. Scary, scary, scary.
Firefighters stood shoulder to shoulder against the onslaught, drenching the flames and the houses in their path. The forecast was not good.
At midnight tonight, wind from the west and northwest at 75 kilometres an hour.
But then they got a break in the form of rain. Not a lot, just enough.
Boys did a great job, really. We had a lot of ember attack on the house, but the guys kept it all pretty well under control.
Crews conceded they had had some hairy moments in the smoke and heat.
What was the worst moment for you?
Driving through the fire. It's
scary?
Yeah.
The task now to watch and act. The situation stayed under control. The sun rose over nearly 400 hectares of scorched bushland to within metres of fence lines.
Yes, my house is still here, and I think it's thank you to these wonderful firemen who are here. They've been fantastic.
A thank you expressed with a hug, and a chance for some weary firefighters to pack up and take a break, while fire chiefs launched an investigation into how this unseasonal fire started.
It's tending to lead towards that there was some level of human intervention, be it accidental or deliberate, so that's obviously for fire investigators to determine.
Robert Avadia, 7 News.
And it seemed like the snow had barely melted when the Blue Mountains was plunged into that emergency. The fire seen, though, as an ominous indicator of what the end of the year might bring. Meteorologists are expecting one of the strongest El Niños we've seen. Now that means tinder dry bush, strong hot winds, and a recipe for a bushfire summer.
2 years ago, when almost 250 buildings were destroyed in a spring bushfire, experts couldn't recall such an inferno so early. A bushfire emergency in winter, they say, is mind-boggling.
And should be a reminder to the entire community that natural disasters don't go by seasons.
Locals who escaped the Wentworth Falls blaze say the bush is very dry.
It's really frightening if it was summer.
A major factor is El Niño, when eastern trade winds weaken, letting warm water drift away from Australia, exposing us to hotter, drier conditions. And this year could be the biggest El Niño on record.
If that's obviously what we're heading for, then you're quite right, it is quite concerning.
The Antarctic winds were still strong enough to punch through. This was Wentworth Falls 2 weeks ago. It made residents rethink their fire plans.
So we used to decide what we're going to do in October, November, when the fire season really kicks in. But I guess now with this fire, we're going to be a bit more prepared earlier.
Now the immediate threat has passed, residents in this community at least can feel more confident about the months ahead. The blaze has wiped out hundreds of hectares of dry fuel, which could have been disastrous come summer.
I've seen a silver lining, and it's relieved us all for the coming fire season.
But for large parts of the state, it's a very different story. Angie Asimus, 7 News.